Chapter 13 of The Spending of a Life's Breath by Amanda Grace Windward. We're getting into the meat of this story. In chapter 12, Marcelina called to say, Roger's coming home to you, lucky girl. Okay, chapter 13. Roger's been home. Friday, Roger called me from work and said Marcelina called and said she and her sister made up a bouquet of flowers for us to celebrate our getting back together. She'd like him to pick them up, so he was going to pick them up on his way home from work. He wasn't asking, he was telling me, so I didn't dare mention it. When Roger came home, he brought the flowers. They were lovely, but sour sweet to me. Then Roger and I decided that he needed to go shopping because he was down to his last 2 pairs of jeans. While shopping, I was finally able to get him to try to buy more stylish clothes for work, seeing how he was mainly working from an office now instead of always working the bull-type construction jobs. I had been trying to get him out of jeans and the plaid lumberjacket look in tees for years, and suddenly he was open to real clothes shopping. I guess we did get a little carried away, though, and soon just about every dime we had left was spent on a new wardrobe for him, including jacket and shoes. I know I was still scared, and I was desperately trying to make him happy, knowing he must be going through a midlife crisis. I wanted him to feel good about himself and our life and be happy. I also still felt this thing between him and Marcelina, which I could tell was once again threatening to pull him away. I must say, striking at the hero button would, after all, be a good move on Marcelina's part, knowing Roger the way I do. Shopping went very well at first. Excuse me. I finally, after years of trying, got him to change his style for a new look and get out of the jeans and sweats and tees and go with the khaki and casual shirts, more like a businessman. And I must say, he looked wonderful. And the gray and tan khakis and the light blues and greens looked wonderful with his beautiful blue eyes, just like I had always said they would. We redressed him from head to toe, several outfits down to the boxes instead of briefs. We got a nice nightgown for me, and we would have been off for a splendid night, but for his pager keep going off while he stood at the checkout. I could see in his face when he checked out the number on his pager that it was Marcelina. It wasn't enough that he had stopped by to see her after work to see that she was all right. She had to make sure she stayed fresh in front of his mind. This bored in my husband's eye. In the car, I told Roger about the worried feelings I was having and the trust issues that were crushing my heart because of him seeing Marcelina and not even giving us a day, let alone a week, to move towards strengthening ourselves together. I guess that was a big mistake because he acted irritated and could not see it or seem to understand me. He said, I told him I thought I could work through it if he would just, I told him I thought I could work through it if he would just admit that he could see she was part of our problem. He got mad at me for speaking badly of her. Then she paged him again. I begged him not to call her yet. He didn't, but didn't speak to me the rest of the way home. When we got home, I told him it's not fair. How could we work on us with her being put first before me, and if we continue to put her first and help her without giving a breath, a breath or of consideration for what I am going through with all this, just got was not fair. By then our voices began to raise as he argued about being there for Marcelina in her needs. And I said, "Can't you see Marcelina is our problem?" He screamed at me angrily, "She is not. Leave her alone." And then he left, saying he was going to his brother's, like Luke's, for the night to cool off. But he did not leave without first grabbing his bags with all his new clothes. After he left, Marcelina called the house. She was drunk, but I couldn't help it. My fears were whirling like a threatening hurricane, and I could not contain myself any longer. I told her exactly how I felt about everything. I told her how I felt about what had been going on previously before Roger left me in the first place. How much of a hazard her drinking too much was for not just this situation, but her own life. I offered to go to AA with her and told her once again that my friend was in AA and was willing to go with her too. She said she would be suicidal if she thought she was the cause of breaking up my family. I said, "Then put down the drink and be more honest with yourself and God. God will help you get through this, but you cannot be asleep or drunken, or you won't hear him." Then Marcelina proceeded to tell me that she and Roger had been drinking together for months. Just wine coolers, though, she said. I couldn't believe my ears, and then everything started to add up much too quickly in my mind. I complained, "You know he's been on the wagon for 25 years. That's why you asked us to help your husband Philip with his drinking problem. Why would you then feed my husband alcohol when he came up to your house to help you? Why would you do that?" She said, "Why would she do that?" She said, "He says he's not an alcoholic anymore." The situation was becoming clearer by the minute. She and her husband Philip were both in AA, yet I often saw her drinking at business dinners. And she divorces Philip after tricking him into signing everything he had of value, including his boat, over to her, when she convinced him it was in their best interest after he bought her an expensive car when he was drunk and making bad financial deal. After Philip took off to Ohio, she leaned on the guys at work, including my husband, to help her out all the time. After speaking with her, Marcelina promised me she would not call Roger, and if she saw him, she would throw cold water at him, so to speak, by sending him on his way. She said she didn't mean for all this to happen. We agreed she should not call him, especially now on this evening while he was upset and had taken off to his brother's. After talking with Marcelina and her seeming sorry about all that happened, I began to feel more hopeful and safer, so I called Roger at his brother's house. We only had a short time to speak. I was able to tell him what Marcelina said and how she told me about him drinking with her, and he seemed to be ready to work things out with me at last. But then the other phone at his brother Luke's house rang, and it was Marcelina calling for Roger. I begged him to be careful as he promised to call me right back, and then hung up with me to talk with her. I could not believe she called him. He called me back after they were through and told me She told him she was very drunk and suicidal. He said he was worried about her and asked me what I thought he should do. I told him to call her sister Candace. She lived much closer to Marcelina, and call 911. He agreed, then got off the phone, but instead of calling Candace, he jumped in his car and took off to Marcelina's, and then stayed with her for the night. At 7 a.m., I spoke with him on the phone, and he said she was feeling better and agreed to try and stop drinking. He said she was going to see her sister Candace that day and talk to her about it all, and she would help her. While I was at work that day, Roger came to our house to get Marcelina's, or should I say Philip's, boat that we were storing in our yard for her. At that time, he also picked up his computer and much from our office den. He did not take his old clothes in our closet and told our youngest sons, Warren and Jack, they could have them. They told me this when I got home from work, and I knew he was gone. He was moving in with her because she needed him. Just roommates, they are saying now, both saying they are just helping each other. There is nothing going on between them, and this has been 8 days of hell, and it looks like we may be stuck here in hell for a while. I had one thing I could try. Out of disbelief and desperation, I called Marcelina's sister, Candace, when I got home from work, hoping she could help talk some sense into her sister. She was not much help. In fact, she was obviously just like her sister. When I told her Marcelina called Roger Friday night, threatening suicide, and was very drunk, and how Marcelina said she was going to call her sister Candace to help her, Candace said, Marcelina did no such thing. She would not do that. And she did not call me asking for help. She then argued with me, saying, Marcelina does not have a drinking problem. And as for Roger moving in with Marcelina, she said, all she knows is that when she sees them together, they seem to be at peace. Then she proceeded to tell me that my marriage being doomed has nothing to do with Marcelina. Marcelina would never do that. I wondered, is this the same woman who, when we were all helping to move Marcelina together, told me her sister was a lazy, procrastinating dreamer who would get nothing done in her life if she didn't manipulate everyone else to do the work for her, and how, although her cabinets were full of cooking supplies, she was just a compulsive buyer and never cooks or cleans and can't cook if her life depended upon it. Oh, and poor Candace had to do everything for her sister, she said. I guess so. Candace is even helping her sister break up my husband in my 30-year marriage and leave his children and make our children cry and go through hell with all this. Sunday. I have got to start focusing on me and the boys. When I am going to do it now. We have already gone through so much this week, and I've done just about everything I can to stop what's happening, and I just don't know what else I can do. They seem to have been preparing for this for quite some time. I was so blind. It's all just craziness and out of control, and it has not budged. I must focus on us, me and my children. Put this all into a safer place for us. Let go and let God, Mandy. Those 8 days seem more like 8 years of hell. I must get control of my life. I will job search Monday. My independent health-centered job is only temporary. I haven't really worked for 30 years. I'm still recovering from my accident. Now that we have spent the last penny we had on Roger's new clothes and don't know if he will send any more money our way, what am I going to do? That Marcelina, she said she would kill herself if she thought she was breaking up our marriage. What a drama queen. Now she insists she's not breaking us up. She pretends to ignore the truth that she possesses him already. She obviously wants him badly. Bad enough to pretend it's not her fault while she uses her womanly wiles and alcoholic temptations to prevent him from coming home. He is like a brother, she said. A brother? Someone who just admitted to her in front of her and his own wife that he was growing feelings for her. How ignorant can she pretend to be? By how stupid was I, but how stupid was I to have not seen this happening. This relationship between them isn't something new. They have been at it a long time, I'm sure. Letting him spend the nights because he was feeling too sick to drive home. Storing his stuff in is all she says she's doing right now. And she tells Roger he has to work on his marriage. How if she is going to keep him there and keep him so busy at her new house? He has no time to come home to help at home on our unfinished family home at all. Until 8 days ago, I didn't even know we were having a problem in our marriage except for the suspicions expressed from my mother and my sister because of the behavior of Marcelina with my husband when she was here at our cookout. And then when I saw of her behavior when we were all moving her. I've got to hope somewhere this will all pass and Roger will wake up and see what he is doing to us all and come home. But it's too freaky to even believe right now with the way things are looking. How long has this been going on? I really wonder. Has she ever read Proverbs 5 and 6 of the Bible? Good Christian woman she says she is. Or Roger, how about Proverbs chapter 6, verse 24? To keep thee from the evil woman, from the flattery of the tongue of a strange woman. Lust not after her beauty and time in thine heart, neither let her take thee with her eyelids. I'm sorry, Roger, for being so naive to not see this coming and not protecting you and our family from her and her deceitful ways. I woke up too late. When you came back home, I thought we were making love. What was it, just one for the road? Was I just a piece? Now you make me feel so cheap. God, what was he doing? God save him from himself and from Marcelina. It's the end of chapter 13. Next chapter 14, we begin with the children. See you soon.